There is a question older than any religion. A whisper that follows every soul from lifetime to lifetime. Does the soul live only once? Or does it return? Some believe life is a single journey. But others feel something different, something ancient, that they've walked this earth before, loved before, lost before, and learned before. But what if the Bible itself quietly holds the key to this mystery? What if the scriptures reveal that the soul doesn't disappear? It returns when its story isn't finished? To understand this idea, we must start with one of the most powerful figures in the Old Testament, the prophet Elijah. Elijah isn't just a character in a story, he is a force. The man who stood alone against a corrupt king. The prophet who called fire down from the sky. The one who confronted idolatry, injustice, and darkness, even when it meant standing completely alone. And the ending of his story is one of the most mystical in the entire Bible. Elijah is taken to heaven, alive, in a chariot of swirling fire. Think about that symbolism for a moment. Fire is what transforms metal into gold. Fire is what purifies grain, burns disease, clears fields for new life. Fire is what turns raw material into something refined. Elijah's entire life was fire, fiery faith, fiery battles, fiery miracles. And then comes a prophecy, one so clear that no one could ignore it. Before the Messiah comes, Elijah must return. Malachi 4:5. Not symbolically, not poetically. Return. As in, come back. Centuries pass. Empires rise and fall. The world changes. And then, in the wilderness near the Jordan River, a strange figure appears. A man wearing camel's hair, living simply, speaking with a voice that shakes the hearts of thousands. A man who calls people to repentance, to cleansing, to a fresh start. His name is John the Baptist. People felt something ancient in him. As if they already knew him. As if this wasn't the first time he'd carried such a mission. The similarities between John and Elijah became impossible to ignore. Both lived apart from society, in solitude. Both confronted kings and corrupted power. Both spoke with an authority that came from somewhere beyond. Both called people back to God. Both prepared the world for something greater. And people started asking him directly, "Who are you? Are you Elijah?" John doesn't say yes, he doesn't say no, he says something deeper. "I am the voice of one crying in the wilderness." A voice. Not a body. A mission. Not a name. A spirit. Not an identity. It's as if he's saying, "Don't look at my face. Look at my purpose." Then Jesus arrives. And he says something that changes everything we thought we knew. If you are willing to accept it, John is Elijah who was to come. Matthew 11:14. And later, even more clearly, Elijah has already come, but they did not recognize him. Matthew 17:12. Jesus is not speaking in metaphor. He's speaking in memory. A spiritual memory that goes beyond one lifetime. His disciples immediately understood, Jesus was talking about John the Baptist. Elijah returned. But not as the same man, the same face, the same personality. He returned with the same essence, the same calling, the same fire of purpose, but in a new time, a new body, a new world. This is not repetition. This is evolution. And here is where the story becomes breathtaking. Elijah's element was fire. John's element was water. And yet both elements purify. One burns away what no longer serves. The other washes away what has been heavy for too long. Imagine the soul of Elijah returning as John. But gentler, wiser, more compassionate. Not a prophet of destruction, but a prophet of renewal. This shift from fire to water mirrors what many spiritual traditions teach. The soul returns not to repeat the past, but to elevate it. Just like a student who comes back to the same lesson. But this time understands it differently. Now here's something fascinating. Jesus never used the word karma, but he spoke constantly about a universal law of balance. When he said, "He who lives by the sword shall die by the sword." Matthew 26:52. He was describing cause and effect. Not punishment, but consequence. Not cruelty, but correction. A soul that wounds must one day learn to heal. A soul that takes must one day learn to give. A soul that fears must one day learn to love. And sometimes, that learning doesn't fit into one lifetime. There is a moment in the teachings of Jesus when he reveals a law so simple, and yet so profound, that it echoes across lifetimes. Those who live by the sword shall die by the sword. People often hear this as a warning. But it's not a threat, It's a description of how the universe works. It means, the energy you send out eventually returns to you. Not always instantly, not always in the same lifetime, but always with perfect precision. It is the law of balance. The law of return. The law that gently, or violently, pushes a soul back toward harmony. And when we look at the life of John the Baptist through this lens, something extraordinary becomes clear. John didn't die quietly. He wasn't taken in old age. He wasn't allowed to fade into peace. He was killed by a king, a beheading ordered out of pride, anger, manipulation, and vengeance. A sword ended his life. And this is where the story becomes incredibly symbolic. Elijah, in his earlier lifetime, confronted kings with a fierce fire. He challenged authority. He stood against rulers so boldly that he became a threat to the throne. His courage was absolute, but sometimes, so was his intensity. And a soul that once stood before kings with fire returned centuries later. To stand before kings once more, but this time in humility, gentleness, and truth. And yet the pattern remains, a prophet challenging corruption, a ruler feeling threatened, a violent reaction from the throne. John the Baptist didn't deserve to die by the sword. But his death mirrors a deeper spiritual law. The path he once walked through fire, he now completed through sacrifice. It wasn't punishment. It was completion. It was the closing of a karmic circle. The soul of Elijah, once fiery enough to call flames from heaven, returned as John, a man of water, purity, and repentance. And the force he once confronted in kings finally touched him in return. A king's sword ended his life. Just as he had once stood defiantly before kings holding the fire of God in his voice. This isn't about violence. It's about transformation. About how unfinished cycles return not to harm us, but to heal us, to soften us, to release us into a higher state of being. John's death was not the end of a tragedy, it was the end of an old story. The closing of Elijah's fire, so the soul could rise into something new. Because the law of return is not punishment. It is evolution. A single life is too small for the vastness of a soul. Across history, mystics, saints, and early Christian thinkers believed exactly this. Origen, one of the earliest Christian theologians, wrote that the soul existed before birth and continues after death, evolving through stages. The Essenes, the mystical Jewish group from Jesus' era, believed in the soul's return. Even the disciples asked Jesus in John 9 whether a man was born blind because of sins committed before his birth. A strange question, unless people already believed the soul had a past. Across cultures, the Egyptians spoke of the soul returning to finish its spiritual lessons. The Greeks believed heroes were reborn to complete unfinished duties. In India, reincarnation was the heartbeat of spiritual life. Tibetan Buddhists teach that great teachers choose to return again and again to guide humanity. These aren't just beliefs. They are echoes of something the soul already knows. And every person who has ever felt a déjà vu so intense that it made them stop and breathe. Every person who has felt instantly connected to a stranger. Every person who has feared something they've never experienced. Every child who remembers details of a place they've never visited. All of these experiences whisper the same truth. We have been here before. When Jesus told Nicodemus, "You must be born again," he wasn't describing a ceremony. He wasn't speaking about joining a group. He wasn't speaking about a single spiritual moment. He was describing the nature of the soul. A soul that returns not because it failed, but because it longs to grow. Just like we learn to walk by falling, we learn to love through many lifetimes. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is lost. Everything transforms. So was John the Baptist the reincarnation of Elijah? The mind may debate it forever. But the soul recognizes the pattern instantly. Jesus' words were not metaphor. They were revelation. A reminder that life is not a straight line, but a spiral that brings us deeper and deeper into truth. We return until the lesson is complete. We return until the heart softens. We return until we finally understand the one truth that every prophet, every teacher, every lifetime tries to show us. Love is the purpose. Love is the destination. Love is the evolution of the soul. And if you're watching this and thinking, "I've felt this before. I've known this before. I've lived this before," write in the comments, "I remember." Because the soul never dies. It only returns. To love more deeply.